Hello, everyone. Welcome to my talk on societal implications of artificial intelligence and the path forward. This is for the International Conference on Big Data, Computational Intelligence and Applications happening in China. So we all know that artificial intelligence is increasingly becoming ubiquitous, and it has major implications on our living. Society can change for better or for worse, depending on how we use it. That is the concept of responsible AI. If not used responsibly, AI can spell disaster. If you don't believe me, here's a powerful quote from a now famous person who founded some of the life-changing companies of the world. Mark my words, artificial intelligence is far more dangerous than nukes. So this is what Elon Musk believes. It is therefore important that the use of artificial intelligence is ethical and conforms to human values. So let me start with some questions. Can you analyze the fingerprint of a visitor in a split second to determine whether he can be allowed into your office? My Mac laptop does that thanks to machine learning and artificial intelligence. Or can you understand the entire World Wide Web and answer questions based on it, like the ChatGPT does? Or scan millions of past credit card applications or credit applications to realize when to approve credit applications? Or translate my talk in English into scores of other languages like PowerPoint is doing right now into Chinese? So machine learning systems are increasingly becoming more powerful than humans. So that is the point I was trying to drive. And autonomous. So about 35 to 40 miles from where I live in San Francisco, you can see vehicles like this. Actually, this has been paused very recently, but hopefully it will come back again. So you call it for a taxi, and this is actually a taxi. It would come, but the difference here is that the taxi is autonomous. It is self-driving. So we know driving requires some reflexes. So artificial intelligence is not only taking the function of the brain, but also the spinal cord, which is responsible for reflexes. The average reaction time when driving is 3/4 of a second. Artificial intelligence is taking over these reflex actions also. There are many life and death decisions that a driver may have to take while driving. There are plenty of ethics and values that come into play in these split-second decisions. For instance, if a bicycle took a quick turn and the car has to either hit the bicycle or hit a tree and crash, causing death and damage, which one should it choose? In case of bad decisions, who is culpable? The company made the car, the engineer who architected that decision of the car, the passenger, or someone else? That is something to be decided. So I hope you are all now convinced that machine learning is the motor of modernization and is driving innovation and progress of civilization. By the way, I'm using machine learning and artificial intelligence more or less synonymously. There's a slight difference, but I'll just to keep it simple, I'll probably use it synonymously. So artificial intelligence will continue to be an economic driver. It is an exciting time to be working in this area. Then you might ask, what is the problem? So here's the problem. So this
that these systems are just encoding human bias. The historical over-policing of minority communities has led to a disproportionate number of crimes being recorded by the police in those locations. Over-policing, historical over-policing, is then passed through the algorithm to justify the future over-policing of those same communities. Basically, Lum says algorithms based on past human decisions are not impartial. Officers will find crime where they're looking for it, not necessarily where it's most likely to occur. But MacDonald says increased police presence acts as a deterrent, leading accusations of.
So you can watch that video later, but the message that the video conveys is that artificial intelligence that is being used for critical applications such as in law and order is not free from bias. So this is a slide conveying a similar message. So COMPASS is a system used by judges and police to assess the chances of a person on bail or who has applied for bail being a risk. So it has been proven that this system is biased against Black inmates and acts in favor of white defendants. So that's a serious problem. When something as critical as a bail application or bail petition adjudication is biased, then we should all be scared. Then the problem of misinformation. So this is a screenshot from when I used ChatGPT for the first time a few months back. So as you can see, not everything is correct on it. So when I asked it, do you use GAN, which is Generative Adversarial Networks? ChatGPT says, as an AI language model, I do not use GANs or any other specific machine learning techniques in my operation. I was trained by OpenAI using a large and so on and so forth. So this, the answer is completely misleading because machine learning is the key idea behind ChatGPT. Similarly, I asked a few other questions, like I asked it to explain MW-mod. It gave me a completely incorrect answer. I tried to search on the web to see where it got it from, if there's any website which has this kind of a misinformation, but no, it was all cooked up by ChatGPT. So you can look at the message on the right as well. The name itself has transformer, right? ChatGPT, T stands for transformer. So GPT basically stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. But ChatGPT says that it doesn't use any machine learning, and GANs are described in the context of NLP when they are not very suitable for NLP tasks. So, so it is obvious that ChatGPT and generative AI has the potential to create misinformation and probably create a misinformation pandemic. And here's a news about recent news where it is said that Apple contractors regularly hear confidential details on Siri recordings. So we all know Siri is used in many homes for getting things done by the iPhone. And it was revealed that voice-activated assistants, even Alexa, not just Siri, but even Alexa, were recording audio without users' knowledge. The reason for recording is that they would be used for quality control. But what is happening is human contractors working for these companies are actually hearing them. So you can see the quotation here from the news article. There have been countless instances of recordings featuring private discussions between doctors and patients, business deals, seemingly criminal dealings, sexual encounters, and so on. These recordings are accompanied by user data showing location, contact details, and the app data. So this is a serious breach of privacy. And then, like I mentioned, culpability is a big issue that needs to be decided. Humans do not premeditate on such split-second decisions, like whether to hit a car, whether to hit a bicycle, or whether to hit a truck, if it has to choose between the two. Or in this case, on the slide, you can see that some some people are going on the bicycles without helmets, and there's a person going on bicycle wearing a helmet. If the self-driving car hits the biker wearing helmet because there are better chances of survival, won't it be unfair to the biker following rules by wearing helmet? Or on the other hand, if it hits the the bikers going without helmet, it can probably cause fatal damage, right? So the bikers could actually die. Or a third alternative could be whether it needs to hit a pole or a pedestrian or something like that, which could be disastrous as well. So who should make this kind of decision? Should it be the government? Should it be the company, the engineering team, the owner of the car, or someone else? So this kind of subtle questions need to be answered at some point of time. So humans do not premeditate on such split-second decisions, but the decision engine of autonomous vehicles needs to hard-code these decisions. So culpability becomes a very important thing to be decided in such cases. So as you can understand, there are a number of artificial intelligence related bills in the United States that are coming up. Europe and Singapore and many other countries are very seriously bringing in legislation to regulate artificial intelligence. But there are many more issues than just the regulation that needs to be considered. So interpretability and explainability of models, particularly with gigantic network of parameters, is really important. Suppose a credit application is rejected or a bail application is granted based on an AI model, and it causes a fatality. Because we hear people committing suicides, for instance, when their credit application gets denied, or if a bail application is granted and the person actually is a risk and causes a homicide, that's a serious thing as well. So we want to understand the logic behind the decision. Even Albert Einstein's theory of relativity was not accepted before people really understood it. We cannot allow AI to make these important decisions if it can't explain itself. Currently, with billions and trillions of parameters in large models, explainability is almost impossible, but it is critically important. So what's the path forward? We have all these problems, but how do we go from here? So pausing AI development, like some of the senior researchers called for in the recent times, is not a solution. It's actually a race, and no one will stop in a race. The race is to conquer the market, establish themselves in the foothold of artificial intelligence. So nobody is going to stop. So pausing AI is certainly not the path going forward. AI regulation is imperative, but needs to be complemented by active involvement of all stakeholders to pivot artificial intelligence for social good. Responsible AI is the responsibility of everyone. Then there's a need to revamp the future workforce. AI will no doubt displace people from jobs. We need to be prepared for it rather than avoid it. The good news is that the quality of the new or revised jobs it will create will be much better. To prepare for all this, we need to prioritize artificial intelligence education in K-12 schooling. Artificial intelligence must enter the general pool of knowledge, just like computers did a few years ago. Technology will have to be democratized. People are the most important economic resources that no company can ignore. Technology that enable the internet, the World Wide Web, smartphones, stands testimony to this fact. In the long run, generative AI or any other advanced AI will be no different. It needs to be widely accessible. And at this time, the winds are skewed in favor of the large companies. I think that also needs to change. There's quite some work that needs to be done to make it more accessible. So that's all I have for this keynote. Please feel free to get in touch with me. I am on the social media, and here's my website on the San Jose State University website. And you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, in whichever way you want.